Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Which would you choose? A world with podcasts or a world without?
What do you mean?
Humanity has always dreamt of flying, but the dream is cursed. My aircraft are destined to become tools for slaughter and destruction.
I know.
But still, I choose a world with podcasts in it.
Yeah!
Which world will you choose?
Yeah! World with podcasts in it.
That's the question.
Well, I don't think our podcasts are going to be used for war.
Yeah.
Yet. Maybe torture.
Yet. Exactly.
Like Zero Dark 30.
Uh-huh.
Crank up the blank check.
Yeah.
Might be used as evidence against me.
Right.
It's been an hour and 15 minutes. They still didn't start discussing the movie. Yeah,
Why are they chewing so much on Mike?
They only had 45 minutes with Lulu Wong, and they spent it talking about Britney Spears.
Yeah. Keep going.
Better be thinking twice about naming names. Yes, our podcast is considered warfare, and that podcast is Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm David.
It's a podcast about filmographies. Directors of massive success early on in their career, given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want.
Sure.
Sometimes those checks clear. Sometimes they bounce baby.
Boy.
And sometimes the filmmaker takes the second check and then founds an entire studio so that they can make whatever they want.
Right.
To totally follow their whims. And then at the end of a career marked by kind of unparalleled artistic success and freedom, he takes a long look in the mirror and questions whether he ever should have done any of it.
It's pretty good, right?
I can't deal with this fucking movie.
No?
I can't deal with this guy.
I can't.
Who is Miyazaki?
I thought
He
I
is
kind of had it
nuts.
figured out, and I can't.
Oh my God.
Ben and I were talking about how we
this
don't
is-
know how to talk about this fucking thing.
Oh, really? Oh, you guys are idiots.
We're idiots?
Idiots. I have a big mustache.
Calling us an idiot.
Idiots.
Macer's on the films of Hayao Miyazaki.
Hell yeah.
It's called Howl's Moving Podcast.
Hell yeah.
And we're on our final episode
Hell yeah.
for The Wind Rises, which was meant to
Final
be
main
his
episode.
final film. Right. We're doing a little bonus for the documentaries.
You know, was it meant to be his final film? I don't believe that shit anymore. Because you could say it about like so many of his movies.
I feel
this one feels like a final movie.
that's what I was going to say. And
But-
also, when it came out, I feel like everyone responded like, I think he means it this time. And I think they responded that way because of the finality.
Content of the movie.
Right.
And of course, his advancing age.
Right. And then they like briefly shut the studio down, right? And Takahata had died.
Takahata dies later. But,
Okay.
yeah, the studio did get shut down. It was one of those sort of things where he was like, well, I wasn't saying we were going to shut it down for good, but also it seemed like there were money troubles.
Yeah.
I don't know. That may have also been business related. But he retired. He retired.
Yeah.
But then he unretired again.
He has a question to ask us.
How do you live?
How do you live?
Right? It's like...
And my answer after watching this movie is,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Not comfortably.
I think... Have I said...
Not with any peace of mind.
Well,
A level of nuance that just makes me want to fold into myself and die.
That is, thank you, Ben. You have perfectly verbalized my like existential crisis watching this movie, where I was like, I just don't know how to deal with anything. Everything is too complicated. You have revealed a level of nuance and forced me for 3 months to get introspective of things that I cannot solve internally.
Well, also,
things that will wrestle inside me for the rest of my life.
Good.
However many more minutes that
good.
lasts.
Many. No, but it's like, he's like, well, art, creative suffering, work, is it all worth it? And it seems like this new one he's doing, he's like, I'm retired. And then he's like, what about living? Is that worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I could.
What about human existence?
I could use that pick me up now. I'll say that. I wish that movie was coming out tomorrow.
I think it's coming out next year.
Yeah. If he's making a movie that's just like, boy, is it great to be alive.
I don't know if it's going to have like a sort of Singing in the Rain style
hoping.
buoyancy.
I'm hoping.
I mean, didn't I read this quote to you? The Toshiro Suzuki the producer
Uh-huh.
said that he is working on How Do You Live as a way of saying to his grandson,
Right.
Grandpa is moving into the next world soon, but he will be leaving this film behind because he loves you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, that should be the reason for like any Marvel movie. What if Kevin Feige just came out and he's like, we're making Thor 4 because I'm moving on into the next world soon. And
Yeah.
I love you.
Fans would be like, "Fuck you!"
Is Heimdall back?
Yeah. I'll be moving on to the next world, running for senator.
Hey.
That's the question. What does Feige do whenever he's done with Marvel? There was a point in time where everyone's belief was like he will finish his Marvel run and then try to take over Star Wars because he's apparently a big Star Wars fan and he would want to deal with that sandbox. But now I wonder if for him it's fucking worth it. The Marvel run is so successful in a way that is unparalleled, and Star Wars has been so fraught with ups and downs, despite being some of the highest grossing films in history.
Right.
That I think he'll just be like, I'm going to do this Marvel thing until I become president of the United States.
I mean,
right?
He's probably all right.
I just feel like he can't move on to any other
I'm not
thing
saying
in
I
the
want
entertainment
Feige
industry.
to be president, nor am I like particularly like excited at the idea of anyone being president, really, but certainly any like, big shot rich person. But I mean, he'd probably be fine. He'd be like, I don't know. You just sit there. Wouldn't bother me, right?
Just
do like a PowerPoint
I
every
was
6
gonna
months,
say,
right?
yeah.
He'd wear baseball caps.
Yeah, he'd get a different baseball cap for every state.
Right.
Yeah. And he'd swap them out.
I don't know. He'd talk some moderately exciting sort of young politicians into like being his cabinet members, and then you'd be like, oh, they kind of lost their edge, but I mean, there's a lot of competency here. You know what I mean? Like maybe America, he'd be like, Marvel, competent,
Right.
not too challenging.
Right.
Like can be that again. Like
Right.
that would be his pitch.
And there'd be a bunch of people.
America right now, it's like, whoa.
There'd be a bunch of people in his cabinet where you were like, oh my God, I thought she was going to be like the next great politician.
Right.
She's sort of gotten stuck in housing and it feels like they don't know what to do with her.
Shit, I mean, but
She's
like,
under contract.
No major screw ups. Right. Yeah.
But it's just like she doesn't have like a ton to do.
Yeah. All right. So Feige for president. Sure.
I don't know. Nothing matters
Whatever.
anymore.
I mean, Marvel's an American success story, I suppose. I never get that. I
What?
hate businessmen and women, mostly,
Uh-huh.
obviously men, when they're like, America should be run like a business, and I run a good business, so won't I run it? Like, why should America be run?
America should
Whoever
not be
said
run like a
that?
business.
When has America ever been run like a business?
This is. I'm ready to
Getting
tackle
very
it.
political all of a sudden.
This is the very fundamental issue with the American dream.
Oh. America, get ready to get roasted.
I call the Boston market because I'm roasting this turkey ass right now. Okay,
Ben Franklin is spinning in his grave.
on a spit roast because I'm roasting him, baby.
I'm doing a roasting motion.
This is the problem.
Yeah.
I feel a majority of Americans interpret the American dream as I can become a billionaire.
Right.
That becomes the
right.
greatest
Like,
aspiration.
No matter my circumstances, I could succeed to great wealth.
America does not have aristocracy in the same sort of sense. We're finally getting to a level where now there are enough storied, moneyed families. But still, there was the idea that anyone could become a billionaire tomorrow.
America, land of opportunity.
Right. So,
You could strike gold.
right.
That's true.
The majority of
Guys,
Americans.
I heard about some gold. You guys want to go strike it?
The Matthew McConaughey movie? I'd love to strike up a new print. I'd love to see that in 35.
Would you?
The problem is, as Stephen Gaghan intended,
Did he?
director of Dr. Dolittle,
Yeah, that's true.
which will be coming out 2074.
Yeah, right. I just got to get that squirrel back. He ran away.
I think people like the idea of America being run like a business because they're like, man, people work for businesses, make a lot of money.
Yeah, sure.
And everyone votes against their, not everyone, too many
Some
people,
people
vote against their best interest because they're like, well, I want to be protected once I make my million.
Right.
I'll make my million like two years from now. And then I don't want to have to pay any taxes.
Well, that's silly.
American
If that's what people are doing.
the bad. That's more like an American nightmare. You know what I'm saying? Splash some cold water on that face, waking you
I'm
up.
doing a kind of a leaning on my hand,
American
tell me more sort of.
nightmare.
Fucking hell.
Green
Why
Day
are we
should
talking
write an
about
album
this?
about this. Because this is what Miyazaki does.
What does he do? What, just combobulates you?
Yes.
To the point that you're wondering why Americans vote against their self-interest?
Yes.
All right.
I don't know what to do with this movie.
Really?
Yeah,
So you watched this movie. It's called The Wind Rises.
I did watch him.
You hadn't seen it before.
I had not.
You've been ruminating on Miyazaki's career.
Watching a lot of them in
Watching a lot of
pretty
them.
compressed time period.
Yeah, in about a month, you've
Yeah.
sort of done the Miyazakis.
Yes.
Month and a half, something
Right.
like that.
Right.
It's a movie about a guy,
Mm-hmm.
young man, who has a dream. He wants to create. He wants to make something beautiful.
On one hand, a very simple movie. He loves this one thing. He loves planes. He just wants to make the simplest, best plane in the world.
most sort of like elegant,
Right.
simplicity,
Effective.
right. Yeah. He wants that, and also then real human life and love messily interferes as it always will, right?
Sure.
And so he has to contend with that, and there's a balance one can't strike, and all that. And then at the end, he's sort of like, "Was it all worth it?" And the guy's like, "I don't know, but it's beautiful."
Well, but you're leaving out a big element,
What's the big element?
which is the thing that he wants to make and
It
make beautifully
ended up right.
will kill everybody.
Well, not everybody.
It will destroy.
Cuba Gooding Jr. survived Pearl Harbor in
Okay.
Pearl Harbor,
And thank God for that.
Ben doesn't make it.
Ben
No,
doesn't
Ben
make
makes it, but Josh doesn't. Is that the end of Pearl Harbor?
Producer Ben doesn't make it?
No.
The Ben-ducer doesn't make
This Ben's okay.
it? Where Ben doesn't make it? The poet laureate, the Haas, the tiebreaker, the peeper, the commish, the booker,
Oh,
birthday Benny,
yeah.
soaking wet Benny, white hot Benny, dirtbag Benny,
I make it.
the first detective. Did I say that one already?
No.
The fuckmaster. He's not Professor Christopher.
No.
He's graduates at different times. Of course, at different
I
ministers.
can't believe we're doing the names.
Kylo Ben.
Yeah.
Producer Ben.
Jesus Christ, you're stuck that
Ben
early?
Night Shyamalan.
Uh-huh.
Ben Sate.
Right.
Ailey Benz with a dollar sign. Warhaz. Say Bennything ... Ben 19 the filmmaker. Purdue Bane. Mr. Ben Credible. The Hosliday. The Benglish. Fucking Robohaz.
Yeah.
Eat Drink Ben Hosley. Jerry Sign Ben.
No.
Wait. Fuck. Who did we do right before this?
Michael Mann, but you're forgetting Burton as well.
Oh, Beetle Vape Juice.
Right.
He is now Hasaka of the Jersey of the Ditch.
Right. But you're also public enemy number
Oh,
one.
he's public enemy number one. Did I get all the other people?
I think so, yeah. I think you got them all.
Yeah.
You got Nancy in there, yeah.
I said the Hosler.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yes.
So we did lose Ben Affleck.
Is it hard? It's not great that I don't remember which of the two boys dies at the end of tragically. I think it's hard now.
I have never seen that movie.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't be spoiling it for you then.
Yeah, massive spoiler.
One of them gets sort of, tragically killed.
Does America win?
Well, I mean, that was one of the funny things about Pearl Harbor. Like, obviously, no, it was
no spoilers.
devastating. But
David, no
then
spoilers.
Michael Bay tacks on an hour-long sequence where he's like, "But then we did this thing, and we kind of won when we did that." So, yeah, America. It's one of the many weird things about Pearl Harbor.
Gotta do Michael Bay.
He'll be on the bracket.
He'll be on the bracket. That's the thing with this movie, though, is all these the Miyazaki sort of mentality of a life is about committing yourself to a thing and learning how to do it perfectly and giving it your all.
Right, but that
and
may
doing
also
so
consume
honestly,
and destroy you.
Right, it might consume and destroy you.
Right.
And this one adds the element of also the thing you make might destroy others.
Right.
You will have no control over how it is interpreted and how it is used and the effect it has on others.
Right. But obviously that is the message of The Wind Rises.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's what he was drawn to as much as the first thing. Because that was the sort of trouble he got in when everyone was like, wait, is this movie pro him or pro war or anything like that? And he's like, no, I'm not pro war. I'm very anti-war.
Yeah, I can't see how.
And they were like, well, then why'd you pick this guy? And he's like, because he made these beautiful airplanes. And you're like, well, okay, but let's keep talking about it. And then he's, whatever. He's walking off thinking about life.
Oh, but all this stuff from Miyazaki goes I hate what these things have become. I hate the industry. I hate your virtual reality zombie. I hate your,
Yeah.
Like, right. He has this very complicated relationship with the art form he has committed himself to.
Sure.
He does not
And,
like what
like,
film and animation
culture.
have become in culture. Right. And you sense that he has this uneasy relationship with the fact that, like, his characters are merchandise, even though they make money off of it and all these sorts of
Right,
things.
right.
He's not literally equating it with death.
Right, I was going to say, there is a bit of a divide there.
No, but I think, like, he looks at other things as a disgrace to humanity, other works in his same realm, you know? Where he's like, I'm trying to just do this the best I can. There's the thing you said in one of the early episodes, we were talking about his relationship with his son. And after his son made his first film, his response was, it was honestly made.
It was honestly made.
Which is one of the most cutting things I've ever heard.
It was made honestly, so it was good, I
Yes.
believe was the message he wrote his son after seeing it. It's not like he walked up to his son and was like, it was pretty good. I mean, you made it very honestly.
Yeah.
He was like,
Yes. Candygram.
Not even a hug.
No.
I don't
Oh,
know.
definitely not.
Obviously, we all have this impression of him as this impossibly stern man, perhaps. I mean, he does have a jokier side. You see it in some of the, documentaries.
Yeah,
I'm sure, right.
It's fucking funny as shit.
It is funny as shit.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, like, even if that's not the thing that innately drew him to this story, right? There has to be some part of him that connects to that element.
Yeah.
Because he is too thoughtful a man to pick someone
Yeah, no, I don't think
whose
he's
work
making this, like, blithely.
was then turned towards human death.
Right.
You know, it's not like he's like, look, I want to make a film about how I am a death merchant. But
No.
he could have picked another artist. He could have picked someone in another field.
Mike, of course, this is based on his own manga.
Right.
Wait.
It was a late manga that was
it's-
serialized in a magazine. It has now
right,
been collected a little bit, but it was like a watercolor sort of serialized 5-part story based on the biography of this man from the 50s.
No, it's not based on that.
It's not?
No, it is based on a Japanese novel.
Oh, interesting.
About the sort of love story and this man a very famous Japanese novel.
Right.
This man who falls in love with a woman who has tuberculosis and right, it's that whole thing, that dynamic. That's
Right.
the novel. And the novel is called The Wind Is Risen.
Right.
And then there is this real person who, by all accounts, had a perfectly normal family life.
Interesting.
And, like, kids and shit.
But he is the actual man who designed this actual
He is
plane.
this, again, famous figure who designed the Zero, which was a very important airplane.
So he kind of combined the two.
Not kind of.
He combined
Fully
the two.
combines the two. You're not supposed to watch The Wind Rises and be like, it's crazy that the guy who made that airplane also had a wife who had tuberculosis. I mean, you might think that, but that's... a quick Google will disavow you of that notion.
Sure.
He's more just kind of like, no, here's this like romantic sort of tragic narrative that's sort of famous in Japan about like the struggle between, work and love and creativity and loss, right?
Yeah.
And then here's this guy who I feel like it represents it as well. So I'm smooshing them together.
Sort of how people use the Pocahontas narrative.
Sure.
Where everyone's like, there's not
I
really
get
a
you.
love story there.
Right, and I remember
are
people
like,
were disappointed in the New World at the time where they were
Right.
like, why are you doing this like very
mythologizing,
romanticized
right.
story of a person who was real, but like
right.
almost everything about her life is sort of fictionalized.
And the whole love story is mostly now thought to be conjecture based on the
exactly.
fact that she stopped her dad from killing him.
right.
That people read into it and they're like, they must have been boning, huh? Why else would someone spare another human's life?
He looks like Colin Farrell, maybe.
Well, that was Terrence Malick's big
That was his take. Right.
and a good one if you ask me.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, that people are able to make Pocahontas narratives because it's an incredible like entry point to then like dig into the messiness of colonization.
Right.
While also having this love story to hang a hook on. It's the same thing as fucking Titanic.
Right.
It's like take a fictionalized love story and use that as an entry point into a great tragedy.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger. Take a real thing that happened, the existence of New Jersey, and pin a very romantic, idealized narrative on top of it. What if a nerd was bullied so hard he fell into a vat of toxic waste and then had a blind girlfriend crush people's heads, ripped guys' arms off?
I've never seen the Toxic.
You've never seen it?
No.
I love it, and it's one of those movies I'm a little afraid to rewatch.
Oh, you think it like
it's been a while.
I mean, I feel
Trauma
like
is like that's like trauma. In
yeah,
general.
but that's like the thing. It's like trauma is like designed to be problematic. Like
Yeah, no, I know.
right.
That was right.
It's
pre-edgelord.
right, but it's like edgelordy sort of John Waters equivalent kind of like what's the most fucked up shit we can put in a movie. And even when I was young and loved trauma, I was like, I get that the point is that this is in horrific taste and that no one is supposed to actually like believe any of this.
Sure.
There's no like ideology to it. And trauma, of course, also is responsible for a lot of like important independent film, like getting Miyazaki distributed in the U.S. for the first time.
Right.
But my memory of Toxic Avenger is I fucking love it.
Sure. Okay. That's fine. I'm not. That's cool. That's cool.
Maybe we put him on the bracket.
Put the Avenger himself.
Lloyd Kaufman. Maybe we put Toxie on the bracket. Ask him to clean up the bracket. He cleans up.
Why are we talking about the Toxic Avenger?
Because, it was a joke about Toxic Avenger being like Titanic.
Okay.
It's really funny and everyone loved it.
Whew.
Look, I saw The Nightingale recently, okay? And I've already also just been in a funk. And Ben has been in a similar funk. And Ben and I have been having a lot of powwows about like, what the fuck is this world we live in? What is this like work we're trying to do?
I should split you guys up.
I
You're
like-
not
Oh,
good
you
for each
shouldn't.
other.
We're
Literally
great for each
today, my girlfriend was like, "What's going on? Are you upset?" I'm like, "I'm just sort of thinking about like what's the point of life." And
Yes,
she's
the
like,
thing I've
"Oh,
been thinking about a lot. Yeah.
okay." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's just sort of what's on my mind."
Yeah, cool, chill, big feel, big mood. There's all of that stuff. You know, anytime things get rough, little Lord Davy Sims just walks out with his Clementine. But Ben and I are staring into the eye of Sauron.
Stop looking there. It's not good. You know, it's a bad eye.
Look, he's got some good
No,
points.
he doesn't. He doesn't.
I don't like the racist stuff, but he's good for the economy. If you really break it down, Sauron's pretty good for the economy.
Sauron is insanely bad for the economy.
He's good for the economy. The gold rings. All these gold rings everywhere.
It's like a dozen of them.
He
I
said,
could have a gold ring someday.
he said he was going to open up the factories again. He was like...
He does do that.
He promised me they were going to open up the factories again. Anyway, the point is, Ben and I have been sort of assessing this hellscape and checking with each other periodically while watching these very existential movies. And we have confided in each other that we've had a hard time watching these films because they have made us feel too much at a time when we're already big gaping wounds, overly sensitive.
It's like going to like a steam room or something, you know, where you're like, yeah,
but I'm in
heat
this
me
thing
up, baby.
where I'm like, A, it feels so impossible to get anything made well on your own terms.
Sure.
Then even more difficult to have it seen. And then even when it gets seen, it feels so often that it is then misinterpreted or used for bad in some kind of way. That the sort of futility of like, what are we trying to do here as like the industry is eating itself alive is making me feel shaky. And then these movies are just like, wow, here's a guy who just like was like, I'm going to just have a studio. I'm going to make my own films. We're never going to try to be like $1 billion company, you know?
Right.
Like we're just going to truck along and stay the exact size where I know I can keep doing exactly what I want to do and never overreach, which is a beautiful dream.
Yeah.
That has, by all accounts, kind of started to crumble only in the last 4 or 5 years.
Sure, but he has essentially sustained it for his entire life.
Right,
I mean,
which is
inarguably
incredible.
Right. I mean, not when he's a young man, but yeah.
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 But then I fall into all this stuff of just like, what's the goal?
What do you mean? Are you asking me about the meaning of life?
Yes. Do you want to just stand?
It's the Keanu thing. It's the people we love. That's 100% the answer. I don't really know what to tell people when they ask me that. It's so obviously true. It's the people you love and the things you experience and what you leave behind. It's not hard. I'm going to make them cry.
I'm getting close.
You know?
I mean, but this is the thing I'm grappling with.
Like we're here for each other.
So here's the thing I was really kind of like wrestling with this movie. Not wrestling like, is this good or bad, but every time it happened, I was like, oh, fuck, they knocked the air out of me again.
I mean, it's an undoubtedly incredibly well-made movie.
Correct.
Like, it's certainly not a movie you're going to watch and you'll be like, I feel like he tossed that off.
The
Like,
use of, what's the name of the Italian airplane engineer? His idol.
Sorry, we'll find Giovanni Caproni.
Okay, so Caproni in this film kind of functions like Gusteau in Ratatouille,
Yes, 100%.
where it's like,
Very
here
good.
is
Right.
a character
Right.
who is a real person in the universe of this movie,
Sure.
who the character idolizes, our hero,
Yes, he will never meet him probably, but he like.
but he has
knows
imaginary
him.
conversations
Yes, right,
with
right.
this man,
Yeah.
who then gives him the life advice, where, one can assume safely, if you're not believing it's a magical thing, that this is in fact his unconscious speaking to him through the guise of the man who would have. Who
It's
has
his
the most impact on
unconscious
him.
who's like, you must create,
Right.
you
Right.
know, like that. It's
What,
that side
what would
of
this
him.
guy
Right.
say to me if I met him? But
Right,
of
right,
course, it's what his brain can only imagine this guy would say to him.
Right.
And every time he sort of throws these big fundamental philosophical questions down on the table, like that shit about the pyramids that I butchered at the beginning of this episode.
Sure, right.
Where he's sort of going like, but this war seems super fucked, and these planes are going to be used to bomb people.
Right.
And he says this thing of like, well, the question is, do you want to live in a world without pyramids or not?
Right.
You can't control.
No, you can't. It's true, right? I mean,
Right.
It's a question people are asking all the time. It's like, how do I participate in society in a pure manner?
Impossible.
Like, and it's not really possible unless
Right.
you want to just like live on an island and like eat,
Correct.
catch a fish out of the ocean every day.
Even think about science, like medicine.
Yeah.
Like, because you're creating something that will hopefully cure someone's illness.
Yes.
But then the pharmaceutical company is going to gouge those
Right.
people by setting some insane price that only very wealthy people have access to. It's
Yeah.
just, it's maddening.
It's the thing I love about Us, which is the other movie that totally fucked with my brain this year, which is
I'm ready to watch that again.
I am
Yeah,
very
I
ready
have
to
the
watch that
Blu-ray.
again.
Oh, yeah.
I got the 4K Steelbook.
Okay.
It's really nice.
That's
glossy
why.
finish.
What's the matter of life to you? The meaning of life.
Getting some good Steelbook.
It's like the people we love and the things the things we feel, and also getting those steelbooks, baby.
You want to know why I've been in such a tailspin recently?
Why?
Right before the release of Toy Story 4, Disney Pixar re-released the first 3 Toy Story movies in 4K Steelbooks with a very consistent art style, and now the Steelbook that is incoming for Toy Story 4 has a radically different art style. What the fuck am I supposed to do with that?
What do you think you should
They
do,
just
Brad?
re-released them. It was a statement of intent, and of course the 4th will be coming, and it will match this art
For the
style.
listener, Griffin's skin has turned purple. And a lot of bats have suddenly flown into the studio and are circling him.
Toy Story 1, 2, 3, hand-drawn, charming, illustrated, art style, representations of the films. Toy Story 4, some bad fucking posed stills of the characters, like the stuff they used for the teaser posters.
All right, now I'm going to have to look this up to see what's getting your goat so
Google
much.
Toy Story Steelbooks, and then we'll talk about that for 40 minutes. The thing... Wait, why were we...
This is kind of lame. I will
Right?
say. It's just the posters, right? Like those
The
character
ones, which I
posters,
don't
right?
like them, where they're in front of like the sepia
little
background.
corny.
But then look up what the first 3 looked like. And to add insult to injury...
I mean, look, you're a maniac, but I cannot deny that. I mean, it's a drop off in quality here.
Those 3 are charming and
You know,
they're
these
of a
are
piece.
cute, right?
You're showing me, and yet I have nothing in here.
Okay.
I'm pointing at my head.
Well, let me pour even more gasoline on the fire.
In there, it's just the toxic Avengers just walking around going like, rah, rah.
Let me pour even more gasoline on the
He
fire.
gives Ralph a high five.
Okay? He's giving... Your head is just Toxic Avenger and Ralph.
Ralph from The Simpsons?
No, Wreck-It. He's gonna...
Oh, Wreck-It. Sorry.
Ben's 2 best
I
friends.
know him on a first name basis.
Yes.
First, they announced those 3 Toy Story Steelbooks, consistent art style. Then they announced the Toy Story 4 Steelbook, different art style. Then they announced that they're re-releasing 7 of the other Pixar movies in 4K Steelbook with the art style matching the first 3 Toy Stories!
Well, that's better.
So the only thing that stands
So
out is the
maybe you
4th...
wait. Maybe you wait.
That's exactly what I'm doing, but it drives me crazy.
I mean, it's tough. You got a tough life.
It's really...
Hit podcasts, Life in New York with a beautiful woman who loves you.
Please,
Toy
a
Story-
protocol droid.
Sorry. Female protocol droid.
Yes.
Toy Story steelbooks,
It's a nightmare.
yeah.
It's a
all
nightmare. I
going
can't
on.
catch a break.
I know our listeners are they just had to sit down and start crying
Yeah.
hearing you talk about that.
Yes.
They can't, they're overwhelmed with emotion for you.
They are.
I will say today someone posted on our Reddit, like, does Griffin have like celiac disease? It's like trying to like hack your diet.
Yeah.
That's how much they care about you.
Guess what? Have fun. Every doctor's been trying to crack this for 30 years now, and no one's gotten close. You know what it is? It's anxiety, motherfuckers.
Yeah, well.
I try to eat better.
That would be my diagnosis.
I will test out different diets. Nothing seems to make it better or worse. The only thing that seems to make it better or worse is my state of mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've been pooping a lot lately. The thing I want to say was, Us. The thing that hits me so hard with that movie is, what I believe the takeaway from that film is, we have to sort of, in some way, reckon with and accept the fact
Get Ralph with.
we have to reckon around.
And accept that.
We live in a society where, in order for one to succeed, someone else must always suffer.
Right. Yeah,
on any scale.
It doesn't even have to be one-to-one, although I like that metaphor in Us. But right, that like there's so much going on in the world
Right.
that you have to not think about, have decided not to think about,
Right.
right? And it's there. And if you just went down a fucking escalator, you'd even see it.
Right.
But we just wouldn't think to go down the escalator.
It's not one-to-one with a tether.
We've learned to not go down the escalator. When you're a kid, you might go down.
Right.
Because you're still kind of like thinking about the world, right? Like in like a sort of an innocent and
And then you work hard enough to get a nice country house where you could stay with your family and not think about the other
right.
shit.
And then they show up.
And then that's the problem.
It's a great movie.
We all train ourselves to become oblivious.
It's a great movie. And then everyone walked out of it being like,
As a mode of
like, where'd they
self-preservation."
get the scissors?
Yeah.
Who's doing laundry?
Yeah. I love it. I think it's a great movie. I think it's a
Fantastic
masterpiece.
movie. I agree.
Yeah.
It's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece.
It is.
So the fact that, give me the name of the Italian guy again.
Oh, I'm sorry. Giovanni Caproni.
In Wind Rises, that his subconscious speaking to him through the vessel of his idol keeps on trying to, like David, say like, what can you do? You just got to build these beautiful things.
Sure.
And at the end of the movie, that final scene, which broke me.
Great scene. And it's sort of, they're watching this like ascension of planes into the sky.
Yes.
That's sort of reminiscent of Porco Rosso when you see the planes sort of going into heaven.
And you see like the fucking like bombed out remains.
Yeah.
The fact that anyone thought this movie was pro-war when it ends so explicitly.
Stupid. I don't know if they thought it was pro. Well, who knows? It certainly there were some, I would say, bad faith attacks on this movie, and then some people more expressing their opinions and whatever.
But it's like the fucking.
I mean, the Japanese, the more like the sort of more military, pro-military Japanese politicians certainly think of him as not an ally. They think of Miyazaki as like unpatriotic, like he's a pacifist, and like there's certain politics in Japan are like we should become more militaristic again.
Yeah.
We should rewrite our constitution to have a military again. Things like
Right.
that.
And then it's weird that some American critics saw this movie and were like,
what's
is
he
like
doing
a
praising
jingoist?
this?
Right.
Anyway,
Yes.
they're watching the planes. They're seeing the destruction.
And the guy's like, good job. You had your 10 years. We all only get 10 years where we're actually doing good work, which is another weird thing because Miyazaki keeps on trying to walk away. Like he keeps trying to pull the Tarantino.
Right.
Where he's like, I'm putting a limit
Which
on it.
is
I'm walking
probably
away
what will
while I'm still
happen to
good.
Tarantino. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm walking away. And that he's like, so 10 years? What do you think? How do you feel about it? And he's like, I don't know. I made this thing. It was really good. But like the planes didn't come home.
Right.
Like they killed people and all the people flying them died.
Right.
And none of them made it back. Right. And he goes, well, they had nothing to come home to. Like there was no home left.
Yeah.
Which is like, wait, the end result is he made a beautiful plane that was used to kill people. Right. Then the people piloting them got killed.
Right.
And it was all sort of for naught because the entire like civilization was destroyed and had to rebuild itself.
And
in the wake of this
Miyazaki's
horrible war.
takeaway is like, yes, but we must live. Right? Like that's sort of like, because the wife appears and she's like, you have to live. And he's like, okay.
I think it's not beautiful because it lasts.
Right.
Right. beautiful because it happened.
Anyway, this is a animated film that made like hundreds of billions of dollars in
That's
Japan.
okay.
I mean, that's the craziest thing.
I know.
You see this and you're like, okay, well, this was more niche, right? And it's like, yeah, okay, compared to
Right.
Spirited Away, yes, it
It's
made less money.
Only the 15th highest grossing
Right,
film
it
of all
was
time.
still performed like a huge blockbuster in Japan.
Yeah. I gotta say, that's like, it feels like all the other cultures are more cultured than we are.
You don't think America is number one? Get a foam finger for me right now.
Even just the fact that all these.
Okay.
David's got a big foam finger on.
I'm writing down foam finger for David.
It says Colin Farrell on it.
Hell yeah.
The fact that all these Ghibli releases are doing so well in China is just like, why are the American studios all about, like, we have to dumb everything down so that it's universal, so
Right.
that it plays everywhere in every other country. And then you look at the box office in other countries and, like, foreign independent dramas do crazy well.
No, I think, America's just a gimmick that's sort of already gone sour. People are like, all right, so we've seen the American movies now. Like, they were illegal for a while or hard to find.
Right.
So, like, seeing them was kind of crazy and they were
Yeah.
so expensive. But we figured out how to do that. So, I mean, whatever.
Right, now they
Take it or
just like
leave
good
it.
stories. Everyone's like, wait, fuck, stories.
Shit.
What was
We fired all those guys.
Stories. Someone remind me quickly. Tip of my tongue. Stories are the effects? What are the... Is that what we call the explosions?
Yeah. The Wind Rises.
Wind
I mean,
Rises.
it's a Miyazaki movie. It's complicated. I feel like his movies are rarely like you walk away with like, that's the one
A
thing
spicy
he's trying to
meatball.
tell me.
Right.
Well, right.
Yeah.
If this was an American movie, that's what the Italian guy would be like, Chef
That's-
Boyardee.
Yes, right.
Right.
It does frustrate me though that where you were talking about people like in sort of bad faith misinterpreting this movie. It's just this thing that just like I feel like especially in the American discourse, people get upset if things are not super didactic in terms of the filmmaker being like, I don't approve of this. I think this is bad.
Right.
That like if a main character does something shitty
Right.
or is
I mean, this is a problem in the way we talk about movies.
right.
Yeah. And things. not
Right.
just movies.
Or even in the case of this film, a main character makes something which is then used by other people to do horrible things.
Right.
That's like, so wait, he's saying that the death was great? Miyazaki's like super into bombing?
This guy wants Wind to Rise?
That's fucking insane.
Ben, did you like this movie?
I don't know.
Okay. That's cool.
It fucked me up too.
Fuck me up.
It's unbearable. I love it.
really unbearable.
I had
I
to
love
watch
it.
it in a few. Like I had to.
Yeah.
I had to
Sure,
stop.
I took some breaks.
Like
I
take a
took some
break.
breaks. Yeah.
You shouldn't take breaks. You should watch it twice.
I mean, just a quick, like,
Yeah.
A cool down on the
cool
old
down.
elliptical.
yeah.
Right.
Something that did stick out to me
Yeah.
is I don't think I've ever seen an animated movie that made me think this much. That wasn't just like action driven.
Sure.
Like this was like a this could be a live action movie.
It's basically a period drama.
Right.
Like, it has like a couple set pieces.
Ben, you've never seen an animated film that made you think this much? Need I remind you the question, what if the world but cars?
What you can remind me of that.
Or what if cars but spies?
Yeah, I hear
Cars
you.
But Spies?
Cars 2.
Oh.
A huge question. It asked the audience.
No, it didn't make me think.
What if cars but spies?
What's 3?
What if Cars 2 makes Cars 3 look like Cars 1?
You're right. Cut it all.
I mean,
out.
yeah. Actually,
Did you
yeah.
watch the subs of the dub?
I watched the subs.
I would agree that is the experience that you should go for, especially with a movie like this. It's actually set in Japan, yada, yada, yada.
You don't think you should watch the version of the film in which Joseph Gordon-Levitt is designing the planes?
I've seen this movie, I think, a few times, so this is the first I decided to watch it with the dub because I had never even thought to watch it with the dub.
Want to live in a world with pyramids.
So, Joseph Gordon-Levitt
Yeah.
is fine
Uh-huh.
as Euro.
My wife has tuberculosis.
But what I was not aware of, I did not really check in on who was in it.
Uh-huh.
But I knew it had like these days they have very exceptional like American cast.
Because there's a crazy one in there.
Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
And he's so good.
really.
Yeah, I mean, he's Castorp. He's the German guy.
Yes. It's the one thing that tempted me to watch the dub.
I mean, he should do this more often. Obviously,
I watched the dub
Right.
as well, and he's so good at it.
I mean, Werner Herzog has a good voice. It's not breaking news at all. Obviously, people love to hear him go, talk about bears and caves and, roads, nature.
Right. I think his one scene is still the high point of all of Rick and Morty.
It's a great scene.
Anything in his voice is funny and profound at the same time.
This is more profound.
Yes.
Oh God.
Well, and
but
him
he's
playing
so
this
good because he
character
has
is quite a choice.
It's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
But he has that slightly sinister edge to
Yes.
his diction.
Yes.
But also he's playing a character who is, we know, a good guy, but still has sort of this kind of unsettling vibe to him.
He is sort of haunted and jovial at the same time, which is an uneasy combination.
And he's sort of it's good that they're getting married.
Yeah.
And all that, but you're kind of yeah, but he almost seems like this specter of tragedy hanging over the whole thing.
Right.
And of course, he's also just a specter of the war to come.
He's like the ghost of World War Future.
That's what he is.
He's like,
kind of nailed it.
It's like Nazis are coming.
Right. Yeah. We could use that guy about now. Yeah. That was the other thing. I mean, that just flipped me out too. It's just man, it's hard watching World War II shit now.
Yeah, it's interesting to have new vantage points on history. And this was a new vantage point for me because, Japan and Germany were working together. They were on the same side. I forget that they were collaborating even in the specifics of this movie, that they were
from the
sharing
point that
technology.
Japan is kicked out of the League of Nations and Hitler rises to power. So most of the 30s,
Yeah. And the 2010s.
The 2010s?
Yeah. I'm saying it feels a little bit like history's repeating.
What you think Japan and Germany are the enemies?
Hitler rising to power?
No, I think America, unfortunately, is the enemy now.
2020.
But I mean, you could make this movie about the scientists who worked at the Manhattan Project. You could make this movie about all kinds of sort of architects of death who thought of themselves as scientists and creators and things I mean, it is a.
You could make this about signing the Declaration of Independence.
This is our most
talking about a weapon
Chapo
of mass
episode
destruction. Hey, Chapo, go on blank check. More like it.
You're challenged.
Challenge. I'm a moron. I don't know anything. Can I just say, I think the distinction, though.
Yeah, no. There, of course, there's distinctions. I'm just saying, obviously, Japan's not the only country that did bad things.
No good, very bad. Don't do it.
Right.
The distinction is that a lot of decent scientists worked on the Manhattan Project and what have you. There are many other examples, but a bomb can only ever be used as a bomb.
That is true.
And a plane is not explicitly a weapon of war.
Right, which is why this is such a fascinating story.
Right. He is in love with the plane, and he has the ill fortune of being born in a time where the only planes they need are to kill people.
Who's going to give them money? The military.
Right.
And if you work in aviation, even now, probably it would be difficult to not to avoid things like military contracts.
This guy's born 30 years later. Maybe he's just working for TWA.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
He's working for Pan Am.
Right.
Hanging out with Christina Ricci and Margot Robbie, Kelly Garner. 3 out of 5 ain't bad.
You done? Miyazaki is the kind of director where we're having this conversation and I'm thinking okay, pillows. Pillows are great. If you make pillows, what can you do
Nothing
wrong?
Bad can happen.
Well, you could fucking smother someone with a pillow.
Dishonest attendant at a retirement home.
So it's why bother making pillows?
Why bother making pillows? Someone will murder someone with pillows.
Well, what you guys are describing is an existential crisis.
Yeah, I have called it as much many times on this episode. Okay. I am not hiding behind any smoke screen here.
I'm not saying you're hiding.
Radical transparency here. Ben and I are going through existential crises together and separately.
For the listener, also context, Griffin is wearing a shirt that says, I feel everything. Just wanted to mention that at this point in the episode.
Feeling sensitive.
Oh my God.
I don't know. What do you think is going to be good?
I'm worried about that one. Let me tell you.
Will that
talking about the culture.
Will that have come out by this point?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna be living in a post.
I know, a twisted world. Or maybe he'll untwist it.
He's so fucking sick. That is the most twisted thing the Joker could do.
Is make something not twisted.
Straighten it out.
All right, so the plot of The Wind Rises. It begins with...
Losing my mind.
You are. I don't know what to do. What do we do?
Talk about the Wind Rises.
Okay, cool. Oh, boy.
Okay.
That opening sequence, though, where he's a kid.
Yes.
And he's trying to, imagine as being a pilot.
His nightmare scene. And then his eyes turn into like fish eyes.
It's so cool. And he's like, puts the glass, but it's too late. Like,
yeah.
And that's Miyazaki, I think, also reminding you, like, just because this is a more grounded story doesn't mean I can't use this medium, like, to every advantage.
More grounded. Outside of dream sequences, this is the only film of his that does not take place in a fantastical world.
Yeah. Now I want to double check.
Like I'm saying, even Cagliostro is not as explicitly magical, but it is.
Cagliostro's a real place, and Ben was trying to book a plane there, remember?
Thank you, Ranky.
I mean, Ponyo kind of takes place in our world. It's just that there's magic.
It's got magical shit. That's
no,
what
I
I'm
know,
saying.
I know.
This is the only movie of his that does not have magic in it. And
What about-
Cagliostro, you can try to split the hair, but I'd say right.
Come on, that's a fake place.
Right. Underwater city.
Right.
This is a movie that's in the real world other than these dream sequences, which are incredibly expressionistic. So it is somewhat bizarre to watch a movie in which the majority of the scenes are – to watch a Miyazaki film in which the majority of the scenes are people sitting in real places, knowing that the fire is not going to come to life.
Yeah.
Or a spirit is not going to knock on their door or any of that.
Right. And beyond that, like, a lot of the scenes are just people chatting.
Yes.
At the office.
Right.
Him and his wife at home. Like, right?
I love the way that she paints, like the look of her medium.
Yes.
It's so, I was blown away.
Yeah. Have you seen what the manga looked like?
No, have you?
Yeah, it's really pretty and it's kind of scratchy.
It's pretty?
It's watercolor and it's scratchy.
Oh, it is pretty. Yeah, I actually have seen this. Yeah.
I kind of wish he could have figured out how to make a whole movie look like that. Because Kaguya comes out a year or two after this.
No, I thought it came out.
Oh, did it come out before?
No, maybe a year after. This is 13.
Yeah, I think Kaguya is 14.
Yeah, Princess Kaguya is 2014.
Yeah.
I
love that movie.
But that movie was incredibly expensive and laborious.
Oh, I know.
Right. Yeah,
I mean, that's why there's a reason people don't make a whole movie look like that. It's because it's tough. But when I saw it and I was like, wait, every single scene looks like that? This isn't just like a dream sequence? The whole movie is like watercolor paintings?
That movie, I mean, I find The Wind Rises to be unbearably devastating.
Uh-huh.
I find the Princess Kaguya to be like that X10. Where I'm almost afraid to think about that movie.
Yeah.
And that's a fable. That's not real at all.
Right.
That's incredible, that movie.
That movie rules.
That is a true blank check.
It fucks, it slaps, it's a bop.
Mm-hmm.
As the kids would say. So you have this dream sequence and he wakes up and he's very haunted by the fact that he believes he is too nearsighted to ever successfully
fly a plane.
Right, which is his dream.
He's talking to Caproni from very early on.
Right.
He's having those dream sequences.
Right.
Where he's like, I've never flown a plane.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
That's for basic bitches.
Right, exactly.
You got to be making the plane. Let other dummies fly it.
And it is kind of fun how little this movie is about the process of flying a plane.
Sure.
There's a couple sequences where you see them being flown and like the speed testing and all that. But like they're rarely sitting down and being like, this is what the pilot needs to know. They don't think about that too much.
But if I can, get a little for a second, there is this analog.
It's just about the worst way to set something up ever.
If I can
get a little about this.
If I can get a little there is an analog here to I will make this thing that hopefully transports people to another place.
Sure. Right.
And I just sit back and hope that it works for them.
Right.
The other movie I kept on thinking about watching this is the Mule. in a film that I think is also similarly
Great movie.
revealing
Great movie.
a director trying to find a movie about the way that they make films, like how they view their career.
And their life.
And he's like, I just plant flowers. You plant 6 a day, and some of them are good and some of them are bad.
That's the mule. But right, it's that. And then they're like, but what about your family? And he's like, I'm guilty. Send me to jail.
Right.
You know, like Miyazaki's like, this movie is like, but what about the people in your life? And he's like,
I tried.
What could I do?
Yeah, right. I tried my best.
But like, I lose people, and whereas like
Right.
Eastwood's verdict on himself is like, well, I'm a simple guy. Like, your wife and kids, I know. Take me to jail. I'll plant my flowers there.
Book me, Dano.
And like, he sees Bradley Cooper, and he's like, you got to remember their birthdays and shit. And he's like, I know. And he's like, yeah. Well, that's my advice to you. I'll see you later.
And then that's the end of the movie, is him being like, remember that shit I said about the birthdays?
Yeah.
Now reprocess that through the prism of knowing that I was the guy that you were hunting down.
Right.
A little more ominous now, huh?
Yeah.
The birthdays.
What a wild movie. I got to buy that on 4K Steelbook. Where's the Steelbook of that?
There isn't. There's a 4K, there's no Steelbook.
Okay.
Do you have the Sully 4K?
Yes.
Gorgeous.
Oh. Got to see those birds. 4,000 lines of resolution.
I mean, if I have one note for the Sully 4K, I wish they'd done it, July.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That's what I got to say to that.
But this thing of like, especially being an animator, it is this weird, like, solitary life where you're like ruthlessly devoted to this craft that is equal parts like mathematical and artistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there is such a technical aspect to animation that makes it different from a lot of other art forms.
Sure.
Because it is this like impossible illusion, like this thing that shouldn't work.
Right.
That you need to keep in your head at all times in order to keep that illusion up in the air, while also having this sort of like creative lens to be able to like realize things that people could only imagine. But you just like sit in a room obsessively drawing over and over and over and over and over again, or whatever form of animation you're doing, and it's still just constant, meticulous, solitary, obsessive.
Is that shot of him at the
manipulation.
desk?
Yes.
And like the wind like was blowing all the pages away.
Right.
Ugh.
And then you're just like, I hope this makes people feel good.
Right.
You just kind of like put it out into the world. And you're like, well, I hope that was all worth it. I hope I didn't waste 5 years of my life making ugly dolls.
Well,
Well,
how ugly are they really?
not enough, if you ask me.
Okay.
Fundamental flaw.
Early in the movie, he's on a train.
Well, this is the point. Now he realizes I'm going to commit my life to making the planes.
Yeah. He's going to go to
University.
Tokyo Imperial University.
Yes.
He's going to study aeronautical engineering, and
Yeah.
he meets Naoko Satomi, and there's the earthquake.
She catches his hat.
It's like
And-
anytime
and-
they meet, it's like the earth is, active, right? Like the wind is blowing and the earth is shaking or things like that.
She also catches his eye, if you
Yes.
know what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
And captures
I
his
just
heart.
wanted to say that.
Yeah, I did. And you
Come on, the
interrupted me.
earthquake sequence is incredible.
Insane.
The way he
thought-
animates that is just, I never thought that you could do that.
I didn't either, and I thought he was getting magical for a second. I was like,
Sure.
oh, is this another dream sequence?
Right.
Is this like an expressionistic thing? And it's like, oh no, it's that the earth is quaking.
Right.
This thing that is insane.
Just sort of like rippling mountains.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're Japanese, you might have that. Like, that's such a notorious event.
Mm-hmm.
Although earthquakes do sort of get forgotten. It's sort of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it keep happening.
Right, but also like, the Kanto 1923 earthquake. I mean, it killed 140,000 people, which is crazy. Jiro goes to school.
Yeah.
He meets his friend Kira
Mhm.
in the dub voiced by John Krasinski, somewhat unsettlingly.
That's weird. But you forgot to mention he shows
Oh, well, he has- right, there's the
his
earthquake.
heroism in the wake of the earthquake.
He does, and it's
Her maid breaks her leg.
right.
Right. And he, without even sharing his name,
He should have shared his name,
selflessly carries her back, helps a stranger out.
but he's not even going to see these people again.
No, it's just
for years.
no, it's a basic human empathy. It's a man realizing he's in a position to help others.
Right.
In a moment of great tragedy and disorientation.
Right.
Anyway, then he meets John Krasinski.
Yeah, he meets John Krasinski.
It's kind of confusing that there's no like to the camera stuff happening.
You think they should do like a sort of Ferris Bueller style, like,
No.
the thing about making airplanes
No,
is...
not even that. I feel like he should just sort of like spin around in his rolly chair and just sort of like look at the camera with sort of like an askance, sort of like wry smile.
Uh-huh.
Ben's pointing at me.
That's what I was talking
Guys, we're
about.
really burnt out, I guess.
Classic
just wild
Halbert.
shit. Oh, I just got that you were doing Office
Yeah.
references.
I
I
don't
don't remember
understand
that
how-
show.
Apparently, you're the only
I
one.
think it is weird.
America's number one.
Where
TV
everyone's
show?
like, I rewatch The Office all the time, and I'm like, I think
do?
I got it.
Yeah.
Like, the first time.
And Parks
Wasn't
and
half
Rec
of it bad?
is the new one.
Yeah.
Like where I feel like I see people on
That's
the
another
train
one where I'm
watching
like,
that
one
all
kinda
the
lost
time.
steam. Like, I didn't even
really
hate it,
lost
but like both Parks and Rec and The Office is like, isn't like the back half of those shows sort of inarguably a little worse than the front half?
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like The Office has 2.5 inarguably bad seasons. Right.
Yes.
At the end.
Yeah.
Not to mention that there's some ups and downs before that.
Uh-huh.
Out of 9.
8 or 9.
And the fact that people are like, yes, once a year I watch all 189 episodes of The Office.
it's a lot.
Is there more than that even?
I think it's 8. No, I think
It's 9 seasons.
Yeah. 189 episodes. I think you nailed how many episodes
Oh
there are.
boy, I would.
No, 201.
I was
Pretty close.
close.
Pretty close. 201
201
episodes, though. It's a lot of
rewatching
episodes.
201 episodes. A show I enjoyed when it was on. Stopped about 4 months after Carell left,
Me too.
and have never felt any
When
compulsion
Carell
to
left, I
rewatch.
was like, oh, the writing's on the wall. And I like gave it a few episodes, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to tap
I thought the 3 Ferrells after Carell were good.
Well,
and then right
sure.
after that, I was like, what the fuck are they doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Krasinski's in this. He plays Kiro.
Mhm.
They work at Mitsubishi.
Mhm.
They're designing a plane.
Mm-hmm.
There's that scene where the plane like breaks apart.
Ben's taking a picture of
Picture
me.
of you.
Should I pose my shirt? Is that better?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll come around.
Okay.
Keep going.
David, keep talking. Ben, I'm just doing a little modeling shoot for Ben.
It's like you're so sprawled.
I'm very sprawled.
And so because they don't really know what they're doing, like they're sort of technologically behind, they're sent to Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, I mean, this is another sequence where you're like, yeah, you really think this guy is pro
Yeah.
Japan in the 30s?
Yeah.
Because like all this stuff where they're in Germany and they're just there, like they're like, we are airplane nerds.
Yeah.
We hear you guys are next level on the airplanes.
Right,
like,
we got transferred to like the headquarters.
Right.
Yeah, we're moving up the job ranks. We're working on better airplanes now.
And they see the Junkers 38, which I think is another like, I mean, Miyazaki is so deep on this shit.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about early aviation.
No.
But I think like that's sort of a famous, like there were only like 2 ever built.
Oh, interesting.
But it was a crazy plane.
Is it pronounced Junkers?
I believe so.
Because it's spelled Junkers, which is really funny.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know how German be.
Yeah.
And like, but as they're doing this,
Mm-hmm.
they're seeing like the secret police are going around and, you know, the Gestapo are beating people up and they're, you know,
And a little bit of anti-Semitism.
a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like Germany is this sort of kind of frightening, shadowy place. And like, you know, they want to walk into the plane and the military's like, you can't do that. And they have to like negotiate all that. Like,
But this movie's pro-war.
but like, I do think like when you're watching this movie, and especially if you're someone, obviously we are young people. Relatively. I mean,
yourself.
right. Yeah,
I'm an old soul.
But, you know, if you're someone who maybe has more of a closer connection to the Second World War and maybe more of a lingering resentment that's just kind of, you know, impossible to dismiss
You're
about
like,
the
I don't
access,
want to see anything even vaguely sympathetic about anyone who was
100%
Right.
100% of
Allied
that.
with the
Even though,
Germans.
right,
Yeah.
he was, right, he obviously not in the military, but
Right.
like, you see a scene like that and you're like, right, why didn't they at that point be like, you know what? Fuck Germany. This
Yeah.
place is clearly, which is, I feel like the frustration people feels about so many of those kinds of stories.
Yeah, or
Like,
things
why-
that are happening today.
What do you mean? Everything's great today, right? Wait, Trump. Oh,
Dick
he's yelling at the Danish prime minister because he won't sell him Greenland.
Democrats, Jews are anti-Semitic if they vote for a Democrat.
Right.
And he was chosen by God.
New rule.
And he's the king of Israel.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm seeing here that a new rule would let the U.S. hold migrant families indefinitely. So when I'm talking
Yeah,
about the
that's a big one.
30s, I'm
Yeah.
saying why didn't anyone?
It's weird. They should have gone like, some bad stuff is happening. Let's stop it right now before it goes any further.
And I do think that is much of what he's trying to dig into in this movie.
Yes.
Right. It's like it's tough not to think, you're going to think personally, obviously, because you're a person. Right. It's tough to think outside yourself. You can try, and people do. But, like, you are maybe eventually going to run into that thing of, like, well, I'm just trying to do what I'm trying to do.
Do my
I
job,
don't have malicious
marry my dying
beliefs.
girlfriend.
Right. I get caught up in all this other stuff. I want to turn a fucking herringbone into a wing, and isn't that beautiful?
He loves the curve.
And at the end, his creative self, his Italian avatar, is like, it was beautiful. But I'm pretty sure Miyazaki is like, look, there's a lot to take in here. Like, I don't think Miyazaki is the Italian guy.
No.
But he's got that Italian guy in his shoulder, too.
Yes.
Whoever that is for him.
Right.
This is an animated movie by a guy who mostly makes films for children.
That's a tune.
Do you think if Hoskins and Roger Rabbit...
Eddie Valiant?
Yeah, if he saw, like, Jiro from this movie, he'd be like, it's a tune!
Yes.
Damn tunes!
Damn tune bombed my brother.
They live in that art film land over there where everything is subtle and moving.
Right. It's so much more convoluted. It's that damn tone over there designed a plane which then the Allied government military used to bomb my uncle-in-law.
I just like the idea that like Toontown might have like a sort of Ghibli zone.
Yes.
And rather than everything being like wacky, everything is like, deeply profound and resonant.
Eddie Valiant hates it.
He goes, he's like, it's too resonant. I'm thinking about humanity and our relationship with nature.
I drink for a reason. I don't want to feel this much. It's a tone.
Okay.
Okay. So Werner Herzog does a good job. I watched it subtitled.
But sure. But so after the German sequence, I feel like he sees Caproni again, and Caproni is like, planes are beautiful. Like humans may not be, but planes are beautiful.
Yeah, and the things that humans do with planes might not be beautiful, but that doesn't diminish the beauty of the plane. If you want to live in a world without pyramids.
What do we think of Kurokawa, who is Jiro's boss? It's a pretty great character, in my opinion. Voiced by Martin Short in the dub.
Interesting. Reminding me a lot of the boss whose name I'm embarrassingly forgetting from The Incredibles.
Because he's short. Short and
He's
kinda,
got a similar kind of stocky.
That's a Wallace Shawn,
That's
right?
a Shawn. That's a Shawn.
It's a classic Shawn. But I like that he is sort of like business-like, and a little mean, and obviously like not very like forthcoming with the compliments, but like at his heart, a fairly moral person.
Yes.
And when things start to get rough and the secret police start to rear their head in Japan, like he's like he does good things, but in the same like kind of like, get in here, or they'll arrest you. I guess I don't care. Sit there now.
Well, even when the marriage comes up, that he's like, you got to convince me that this isn't about your ego,
right?
Because if you're doing it for your ego, you're really going to hurt this girl,
right? And that's a pretty incredible scene.
That's a pretty incredible scene.
And also his hair is funny and it bounces when he walks.
That's really funny.
But he gets hired for the Imperial Navy. He's trying to build a plane again. Doesn't work. It fails in testing. It's rejected. So he goes to this resort to chill out. And who's there? Standing on the balcony, suffering from tuberculosis.
Hardcore.
Good old Naoko.
Yeah.
That whole thing's great. The hat.
And it's like they've been waiting to see each other.
The paper airplane.
Yes.
I love that whole and the Herzog and like I love all of that.
Yeah, it's very romantic.
That like it's romantic. You seem defeated by that.
Just by life. But go on.
No, it's romantic, but also like even though he's there to escape, he can't escape from one like the specter of the coming war.
Yeah,
but also like feeling, right? Like he's falling for this person who's going to affect his life negatively in a lot of ways because like he's going to have to worry about her and. It's going to impact his work and she's going to be sick and like there are all these bad things, but like, love, man. You got to love conquers all.
It does.
Right? Mm-hmm. That's what the Wachowskis say too. Mm-hmm. Did you see that? I think it was Lily. One of them was like, it's just love conquers all. That's what our movies are about.
Yeah. They rule.
They do rule.
I just can't. I have so many questions about their split. And Lana doing Matrix solo. At the time we were recording this, that announcement was yesterday.
Yeah.
and you have heard us react to it in real time.
That's true.
The episode where David gets broken
Yeah.
during Howl's Moving Castle. But I like last night, I just couldn't stop stewing on all the different possible scenarios.
Well, I feel you mean just on like how it's going to go, like what the story is?
No, literally just the state of their relationship and how it ended up with one of them agreeing to do the movie and not the other.
They may talk about it someday, but it does seem like this sort of split that was presented as temporary for Sense8 season 2 has become permanent.
But,
like,
yeah.
Sort of like either for personal reasons or professional reasons or
thing.
both.
It just felt like for a while the split was sold as like, oh, like Lily kind of wants to keep working and Lana's sort of done.
Right.
And then that has proven to very much not be the case.
You're flopping the names, but that's okay.
I'm not. The belief for a little while was Lana was like done.
Really?
Yeah. And
Lana.
it was like, right. And it was like, oh, Lily's
no, but
going to.
Lana's the one who did season 2 of Sense8.
Yes.
Right.
And Lily didn't because it was like sort of right after transition, right.
Right.
But then the stuff I had heard was after Sense8, one of the reasons they sold the company was Lana was like, I feel like I've said everything I have to say. And Lily then goes on to like produce the sitcom. And the idea was like, well, she's still going to like find ways to like, work on things. But maybe they're big, passionate, personal projects.
Maybe it was just a thing of like Warner Brothers being like, The Matrix. Like, what do you think? And like,
if you don't do it, someone else will.
Sure. And Lily was definitively like, I don't like too much, or I'm not interested in going back there, or whatever. And Lana was like, well, I cooked up this idea with novelist David Mitchell.
So crazy.
And here's a script. And Warner Brothers apparently loved the script. So like maybe
that's not just, oh, we've hired these people to write it.
No, there's a script.
That's crazy. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. Which is great.
There was that statement by Lily at the TCAs where she's like, I'm very excited for other people to have a chance to do The Matrix.
Right.
It doesn't belong to me. I hope they make an even better movie.
Impossible.
Well, that's why it's weird, though, that she was saying that. Was she just being coy?
I have no idea.
Or was she in the dark?
Couldn't tell you. Joan don't know.
Okay, the wind rises.
It's rising.
It's rising.
Do you like the Castor scene and the whole sort of like romantic interlude?
Castor is very striking looking. He has such a different sort of style of caricature.
And he's got like gray eyes that are
Yes.
very prominent, and Herzog again, very strange.
But he's sort of, in certain ways, like more caricatured. He sort of has more exaggerated features than anyone else.
He's got kind of a simple face too, like not a lot of lines to it. Big nose,
right? But his eyes are crazy, and his nose is huge.
He's based on the German novel *The Magic Mountain* by Thomas Mann, which is his name comes from that.
Okay,
which is apparently a sort of crucial influence on this film. Which is a movie I think that he wrote when his wife was at a sanatorium. It all comes back to this,
Yeah.
I don't know much about Miyazaki's personal life. I know he has kids, obviously.
Right.
I don't know much about it. Like, I don't know if he went through anything like that.
I mean, he doesn't really talk about it, right?
As far as I know, he married another animator. They have 2 kids, or maybe just 2 kids, and he has a tough relationship with his son, who tried to follow him in the biz. But that's all I know. So I don't know why he's so drawn to this story, this classic Japanese novel of your wife's in a sanatorium and she's dying of tuberculosis and all. But he clearly is.
Yeah.
And that sort of push and pull between like work and love.
Right. And is it better to make the most of the time you have?
You're right. Right. Exactly. Right. Better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Right. That sort of thing.
Right.
But
because that whole dynamic is so interesting of her being like, I very much want to marry you.
Right.
Just quick note, I have hardcore tuberculosis and I won't marry you until I'm better.
Right.
And then she gets so much worse that he's like, cool, I'm going to override your request.
Right. I'm
going to marry the shit out of you now.
But we know it's
doomed. That shot is so upsetting when he gets the
telegram in the blood.
And then it cuts to her over her painting with blood dripping out of her mouth through her fingers onto the painting.
Yeah. Very visceral.
It like looks like something from Mononoke. Like it doesn't look You know,
I know.
It's such an unreal amount of blood gushing,
Sure.
and a constant stream,
Right.
and it just looks like it's pouring out of her face because her hands are so fully over her face. It's not just like, oh, it's coming out of her mouth. It's like her whole head is bleeding.
Yep.
It sucks.
You got his sister, who's kind of a great character, actually. I
Yeah.
like that she has her own arc, like outside of the movie. But when she shows back up, like now she's a doctor, like and
Right.
she's like an independent person,
And she's like, I got the read on this. It's bad.
yeah, right. She's like, she's not going to make it.
Yeah.
And he's in denial. Like that. I think
Right.
that's the sort of shared thing between his love and his work. Like he wants to create and do all this stuff, but he is in denial about like what it's going to be for. Even though it's literally the military being like, make it faster, you know, make it more deadly, you know, right? I mean, like, what are they saying?
Well, yeah, and it's also right.
Make
It's
it lighter, like maybe it'll take off from an aircraft carrier or whatever, right?
Right. It's hard to love something fully if you think so much about how it can go wrong.
Right.
So you put on blinders to some degree.
Yeah, you focus on the things you love about it and the things that make you feel good about it, right? And
Right.
it's like this marriage he has is going to make him sad.
Right, but also the fact that he's just like, well, and I'm going to keep on being obsessed with my work as I always am because nothing in my life has changed because this is normal and you're
Right.
not going to die.
Right.
And everyone's like, you leave her alone
Right. Yeah.
while you just sit over a desk and draw planes all day.
Right.
She's going to be dead super soon. And he's like, no, she's not. It's all fine. And she's like, I love it. I love that you go to work. I will also stay alive forever.
Yeah.
Like they're both just playing
And
this
then
game
when
of
it's time
willful
for her
naivete.
to die, she just leaves.
She just leaves and leaves
because she knows how horrible it'll be.
a bunch of notes. David's pushing away his microphone. Oh, look who's having the breakdown now.
This movie is very
Yeah.
It's my favorite movie of this. It was my favorite movie of 2013,
Mm.
and it was one of those things. It like a lot of Miyazaki movies where like it almost felt like I was like that's too, you know, I shouldn't even glimpse this. It's
Yeah.
you know, too moving and it's unbearable. I already said that. It's unbearable.
What was my favorite movie of 2013?
I don't know. I mean, there were some good movies that year. Inside Llewyn Davis is that year. Wolf of Wall Street. Francis Ha.
My top two were Llewyn Davis and Spring Breakers. So of course, that's the answer.
12 Years a Slave is that year. Iron Man 3, great
Yeah.
movie. Before
Iron Man.
Midnight.
Right. But it's, The
Counselor,
Llewyn
fucking
Davis and Spring Breakers.
Another movie where it's suffer for your art and what's the point?
Yeah.
Spring Breakers?
Well,
Well,
Oh, Llewyn Davis. Sure.
yeah. Well,
if your art's robbery.
Llewyn Davis is more like, I feel like this is JD's take and I'm borrowing it, but
I love his take on this one.
Right, where it's like life, you know, is creativity. It's like this iteration where it feels like it's the same every single fucking time you're trying, but it actually is changing very slowly.
Right.
And that may or may not be good or worth it or, you know, progress even.
But also that you're stuck in these loops.
Right.
And like once a loop, you have an opportunity
Right.
to actually like grab the brass ring. And you keep on, like if you miss it, you will keep on finding those opportunities again. But the people who are self-destructive are destined to miss them over and over and over
100%.
again.
Ugh, good movie.
Right? That you witness in the movie like 5 opportunities he has to really do something good. And he just keeps on fucking them up. And the flip of the beginning and the end of that movie is just like, it doesn't matter. Like this is just going to repeat.
That's what I love about
It's going to repeat. And most likely he will not someday get it together.
Right.
There's a chance. One of these times he wises up and he sees clearly and he's able to like jump through the hole when it presents itself and find success and happiness on the other side, but most likely not.
Right.
What a great movie. Everything's bad.
No! Everything is not bad, you dingus. This movie is beautiful.
this is the kind of movie where
And you don't even see her die. It's just there's a gust of wind
Yes,
and he
like-
knows.
He knows.
Yeah.
okay, Nirvana, dumb.
Mhm.
We all know
What?
the song. Nirvana, dumb.
Oh, okay.
The
I thought
song,
you were
he wasn't
calling
saying
them
they are
dumb.
Please.
No.
More like David dumb
Very
for
simple.
thinking that.
Yeah, you dumb. Very simple idea.
From all sides.
Very simple idea.
And essentially it's just like stupid people actually maybe have a happier life.
Yes.
Right? This movie, seeing this, I'm like, I want to be dumb.
Yeah.
I don't want to know all about
you're
this.
a cipher. Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I do
yeah.
not want to touch the ineffable beauty of the
I
world.
see all this, and it's
I just want to be
like,
like, da, 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 ba, 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 ba,
give me that,
ba.
give me that.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like, I watched this movie. I'm like, okay, how do I learn how to like football? Because maybe I can watch that, and that will help me get through living.
I don't care if
What
this,
if we keep doing this podcast, but you're just like, yeah, I didn't watch the movie. You guys like football?
I can't.
It's good.
and with
Guys,
our,
have you been to Applebee's recently? It rules.
okay, Applebee's does roll, and but this is why half the stuff I like is dumb. You know, like all the shit where people are like, why does Griffin eat all this terrible food? Why does he like all these
They're really
weird
coming at your
things?
diet.
Why does
Yeah.
he buy all these toys? And it's like, because half the time I need to like, just like fucking dull my mind with things that are just like baseline enjoyment,
Sure.
no deeper thought.
Right.
And then the other half of the time I think about everything too much. Anyway, Applebee's has had a big Long Island iced tea summer with $1.
What are we? What's our running time at?
70 minutes.
Oh, okay.
70 minutes.
Yeah, it's pretty rapid for us.
Briskest episode ever. What I mean, we sort of talked about the end at the beginning.
It was a breeze.
There's a breeze, and he senses it's his
Just like
wife dying.
wind.
He sees the successful launch of his plane, but then he has this final conversation with his dream manifestation of his idol, trying to
Reassure
assuage
him.
his sort of guilt and his second guessing of the way he lived his entire life.
I'm trying to think of any other part of the movie we might have missed, but I guess not. Like, even though it's not a short movie, it's like 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 seconds.
2 hours and change, right?
Yeah.
It is pretty quiet, and the plotting is pretty spare.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of him just drawing and testing planes.
Yeah, well, got to test those planes.
Should we
hate them.
hate him? Should we do the box office game?
Sure. Anyway, this movie is beautiful.
There was a thing. Well, maybe I'll talk about this first. It's a thing we've overlooked, and we recorded most of these episodes before any of them had come out. Right?
Uh-huh.
We banked these up.
Yeah.
So we record them largely out of the echo chamber of hearing people react to them.
Sure.
But when the Nausicaa episode came out, and we're recording this right after that, I saw some people on Reddit pointing out, like, the context that I hope you guys get to, which I can now say we did not in earlier episodes, so I think it is important to talk about,
Okay.
is that his first 2 movies are adaptations, right? One's adaptation of his own work, but a work that was fairly successful and long-running. And the other thing is adaptation of someone else's work that was incredibly successful and super long-running.
Right.
But that the real dividing point for him is when he makes Castle in the Sky,
Right.
because he decides to found an animation studio on the principle of making original films, which at that time was pretty much unheard of.
Sure.
That people were not using anime to tell original stories, that it was predominantly adaptations of pre-existing works, continuations of long-running franchises, the idea of making one-off films based on no pre-existing material, or being based on Western material or obscure sources, not being based on manga or folklore or what have you, was very bizarre. And he kind of shifted the entire industry just by doing that, by planting his flag, by Castle in the Sky being successful, by being able to continue running in that direction and make films that are just films. And what is very much kind of the opposite of what we're experiencing today in our monoculture,
Sure.
which is it's hard to just make a thing that is just one thing. Everything has to have the promise of it can go on forever and ever and ever in some sort of sense. And he kind of flipped that script in a fascinating way. And this movie as a final film is like a film that not only wouldn't have existed if he hadn't had the career he had, but also the notion of anyone making a film like this was kind of absurd,
Right.
and unimaginable.
Right.
And that he did sort of like expand the boundaries of animation in a way that I don't know if anyone has done in Western culture with that level of critical and financial success. I think there's a shift in terms of what Pixar did that moved things away from the Disney model, because the model was so binary in terms of an animated film is always a musical, it's always a fairy tale, it's always this kind of thing with very little variation.
Right.
But we still have yet to see people really experiment with
even Pixar really just ended up creating their own model.
Exactly.
Like, it's not like they created a sort of limitless sandbox or what, like,
Right. And
they
to
kinda
some
have their own version of
extent,
doing
Miyazaki created his own model, but there's
To
more
some extent.
variation within it.
Yeah.
And other filmmakers within the studio established different models.
Right. And also other filmmakers did their own things outside
Right.
of the studio. And
Right. He
the genres
then
were birthed.
he made it a commercially viable thing for animators to be able to pitch original films. I just think it's a fascinating thing we hadn't talked about, and I didn't realize that until someone pointed out in the Reddit. Thank you to the person who I'm now not crediting because I'm bad at my job.
I'm just gonna, before we do the box office game, that was all good. A few things I wanted to remember.
Thank you for your support.
I support you fully and completely.
Great.
Miyazaki created the manga just as a hobby.
Yeah.
Didn't think the movie it could be turned into a movie because it wasn't for children.
Yeah.
But a staff member said the children should be exposed to things they're not familiar with.
Mhm.
And Miyazaki was like, "You're right."
Crazy.
Kind of the kind of interaction you'd love to watch.
Mhm. You'd love to see it.
He had loved to see it. He was inspired also by this quote from Horikoshi. All I wanted to do was make something beautiful,
Mhm.
which I'm sure is the kind of thing, again, as judging from this film, he saw so much in, like so
Yeah.
much tragedy and so much,
Yeah.
transcendence. What else? Was it Venice?
Have you
Toronto?
seen Tell Them Anything You Want?
No.
The documentary about Maurice Sendak that Spike Jonze did?
No, I never have. No, I never have. I am aware of it.
It's maybe one of my favorite films ever.
Sure.
And it's like 45 minutes long, so I don't talk about it.
You can't talk about it.
You're not allowed. It's Fight Club rules. No, but because it's like a long short, I don't think of it when I'm thinking about like movies. But it's a thing I probably watched 10 times. And Maurice Sendak is a guy who has a similarly weird sort of like monastic approach to his work and his relationship to his audience and the purity of the work and his discomfort with the success and commercializations of the lives that some of his things have gone on to and all that. But it's like him at his home in his dying years and sort of looking back on everything. Right. And he was a very prickly man.
Sure.
And I think a very fascinating man. But he says this thing, there's this moment in it, and he's very unsentimental.
Right.
Like Spike Jonze keeps on asking him, like, are you scared about death? And he's like, no, it's just going to happen. And he keeps on joking, like, I'll die tomorrow. I'm going to be dead. No one cares. I'm some guy. I made some books. Who cares? And he's like, Maurice, how can you say that? And he's like, none of it matters. Like, he's like very sort of flippant about it. Like, I just showed up. None of my work, it's I just was a guy. I did a thing. But there's one moment that's he talks about when his dog died and he almost cries. He talks about when his longtime romantic partner died and he almost cries. And the only other moment where he gets emotional about something is he talks about how he still feels like he has one work left in him and he never did another work. There's no other work from the time that they started filming this documentary. Right. But the thing he says, he like closes his eyes and it's like he's imagining what the thing is. He doesn't have an idea of what the project is, but he knows what he wants the project to be. And he's like, I want to make something that is just so simple. And he says it with this intensity that has like haunted me. Where he could see so clearly, he's like, everything I've made has too much going on. And he's like, what if I could make something with the bare minimum that had the same sort of effect? And I feel like that's like a big Miyazaki principle. For as much as he puts into a lot of these movies, it is the philosophy of like, what's the simplest way to tell a very complicated story or to add very complicated creatures or visuals or any of that, that sort of clarity. And this feels like his simplest movie in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And, if this isn't his final film, which it isn't, and who knows if How Do You Live will actually be his final film or not. I hope it is similarly simple.
Okay. How Do You Live?
Not well. We already did this joke.
Oh, also, this movie lost to Frozen for Best Animated Feature Film of the Year.
Of course.
I mean, it wasn't going to win, but
no, he got his award.
That's how the Oscars feel.
Right.
Despicable Me 2 got robbed.
Despicable Me 2 was one of the nominees. Can you name the other two?
Okay, wait. So Wind Rises, Frozen, Despicable Me 2. There's not a Pixar in there?
No.
And there's not a Laika in there?
No.
So the other two, were the other two G Kids releases, or was one of them a studio release?
Well, the studio.
Okay.
I don't think the other one was G Kids, but it was like an art movie.
Huh. One of them's a studio. It's one of the major.
No, it looks like this was G Kids, the art movie.
Is it the Red Turtle?
No, that was a couple years later.
A couple years. I'm trying to timeline this. Was it like Secret of Kells?
Nope.
Or what's the other one called? Song of the Sea?
Song
No.
of the Sea
Okay.
either, no.
What country?
French or French Canadian?
It's not Ernest and Celestine. It is. Okay. And then the other one's a studio film, and it's not a DreamWorks, or is it?
I couldn't. Yeah, I think it is a DreamWorks. Yeah.
You think it is a DreamWorks?
Yeah, it's a DreamWorks.
And it's a first film. It's not a sequel?
No.
The fuck is that? The fuck is this? This existed?
Yeah, it existed. They're making a sequel now.
What?
Oh, The Croods? Yeah.
What the fuck is the
Some people
Croods?
speak up for that one. I've never seen it.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
That movie.
It's like cavemen.
Yeah, they have canceled, uncanceled, recanceled, uncanceled that movie
I believe it's being made.
now, but they keep on canceling it and uncanceling it. When I was working on Nikki and Sarah Live, the MTV show, that was supposed to be the Daily Show, but about pop culture and for teenage girls, in which MTV executives, several weeks into the show, decided we don't think girls like jokes, and asked two professional female stand-up comedians to put less jokes in their show. The world's bad. But I was assigned to do a sketch that was based around Emma Stone and Ryan Reynolds were going to be in town doing a junket for the Croods. Right. And the bit was Nikki and Sarah, Nikki Glaser, Sarah Schaefer, going to go to the junket and ask Ryan Reynolds and Emma Stone really dumb questions. Right. And the bit will be that I am in studio as their entertainment correspondent, but also the world's number one Crude fan. Right. And I'm really angry that they didn't ask Crude-related questions. And so they went and they shot the interview, and then we wrote our sketch, and the sketch was no one cares about the Crudes. The joke is that no one cares about the Crudes. Write all the Crude specifics in the world. Have him talk about the Crudes as if it's like a sacred text. And it's just me flipping out about something dumb that I like, right? Classic Griffin Newman bit.
Sure.
And MTV killed the sketch because they thought we were giving too much free promotion to the Crudes.
Okay.
And we said the premise of the sketch is that
no, I heard you.
No one cares about it. And they went, well, you can't do it. And it was going to air. It was going to be live the next day. And they'd already filmed the interview. Night? Live New York Tuesday night. So they said to us, you just have to rewrite the sketch quickly and just have there be no Crudes references. Turned out very badly.
Wind Rises, it's a transcendent, sublime film. Is that the same year as the Crudes?
You just said it was.
Wind Rises, yeah.
Nominated the same year.
Nominated the same year.
I thought that was the craziest note I've ever gotten.
It's a weird note. I don't know. MTV's very stupid. Or was.
I agree, 100%.
Seems like...
I don't know, unless they want to hire us now.
Yeah, exactly. Hire us right now, Viacom.
Okay, box office game.
Yeah, all right. Here we go.
Cut the Crude story out or put it in 3 times.
Yeah, put it in, sprinkle it through the episode.
Sprinkle it a couple times.
Yeah, right.
Do a Pulp Fiction style. Spread it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Get little glimpses of it. I don't know.
Yeah, make it a Patreon bonus.
Yeah.
But label it, no, don't listen.
It's its own tier.
Boring story inside. Yeah! We zinged him.
You zinged me.
Oh, boy. I'm just kidding.
Crude, more like rude story.
More like rude story.
I mean, I'm just getting revenge for that dumb dig you did earlier. The Nirvana dumb dig.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty brutal, wasn't it?
Fucking revenge for that. Revenge is sweet.
Oh, man.
What if Miyazaki's like, I'm going to do another movie. It's called Death Wish. It's a remake of Death Wish. It's about a guy who kills people. Like, if you made the most crass movie ever. He's like, I've always wanted to make a really gross movie that sucks.
He just does Toxic Avenger.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But no,
Sexist drone.
Instead, he's like, how do we live? What's the message I should leave to my grandson?
Right.
February 21st. Jesus Christ. Do your mouth. Do your Jews harp. February 21st, 2014.
Right after my birthday. February 19th.
No, so 2014.
Yeah.
That's weird.
What? Because it came out here later?
Yeah, I guess so.
What are you confused by?
Well, why do I consider it a 2013 movie?
Because I believe it
had like a
limited
run.
qualifying year-end release.
That's like
and then
not in the box office because they don't report that.
Right, and then they waited to release it wide until after the Oscar nomination.
And I believe when they released it wide, it had the dub. I mean, you could choose.
You think that was the dubbed version of the film?
That's it. Thank you for clearing that up. It debuts limited, 21 screens, makes $300,000, but
makes 5, which is more than I thought this movie made.
Yeah.
Because this was also released
138 worldwide or
under
something.
Touchstone.
Yeah.
Like the other Miyazakis, the other Ghibli's.
They were Disney.
Right, and Disney was like, this is not a kid's movie.
Which it is not.
Yeah.
It has smoking as well,
Yeah,
which
put
they
it on
have. So
Touchstone.
there's a lot of smoking in this movie,
A lot of
actually.
smoking.
Oh, it was killing me. It kept making me want to have a cigarette.
Well, smoking is kind of cool to look at in a movie anyway, but visually, animated, it's very cool.
What if the next Miyazaki film, How Do You Live, is just about drooling?
Yeah, he's like, I love it. I love it. I love sucking on those sweet pods.
For the record, I quit vaping.
Cool. I approve.
Cool.
But you're smoking still.
More.
Sort of, up and down with you. I quit vaping, but I added a lot more smoking to the sked.
This is working out.
All right. The Lego. Fuck, I gave it away. Number 1 is the Lego movie. 3 weeks. In its 3rd week, still number 1. Adding theaters.
It was a huge film.
It was.
You'll
Such a
forget,
good
opened
movie.
at 70, ended up at 250.
Yeah.
Which is why the drop off on the second one is like so kind of crazy. But it's they killed the Golden Goose.
They did.
They did
And
too much
It's not
too
the
soon.
second one. It's the 4th one. You know
Right,
what I
that's the
mean?
problem.
That's the problem.
I mean, look, and we know that Lego Batman's a masterpiece, and we stand. But Lego Ninjago is the one that I think killed the franchise by having those two movies come out in the same year. Was crazy, and we called it when it was happening on this podcast. Check the tape.
Okay, number 2. I believe it's opening this week. It's an action film.
Okay.
With a big star, but he's an older star now. I think he's going for a Taken thing.
Is it the Sean Penn one?
No. You've worked with this actor.
Oh, is it? It's a
You almost said
Cos.
it.
It's a Cos movie. It's not 3 Days to Kill?
Yeah.
It is that one. That's it. It's the McGee joint. 3 Days to Kill.
G, I believe it's a Relativity.
I believe so. Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Steinfeld's in that?
I believe she plays his daughter.
Yeah, Amber Heard.
Yeah.
Connie Nielsen.
Yeah.
What's it about? He's got 3 Days to Kill or something?
Yeah, and she's his daughter. I don't know. I just remember it coming out underperforming and going like, oh boy. Because draft day was like 3 weeks away.
But I mean, this is such a nothing. Whatever. Anyway, came out, made $30 million.
That was supposed to be the corridor of like, he's in Jack Ryan, and then he's in 3 Days to Kill, and then draft day is going to come out, and he's going to reclaim the title.
Didn't quite go
Didn't
that way.
happen.
Well, draft day is still remembered, though. 3 Days to Kill is not.
It is not.
Third film is it's like an epic period. I guess it's an actioner from a director I admire, but I've never seen this movie. And unless we go do them on the miniseries, I probably never will.
You admire, but you've never seen
And I feel like we were just talking about this movie.
Is it like based? I mean, you said it's period. Is it like
It's
based,
on
a
like a
true
historical
story?
event. Yeah.
It's based on like a real historical event.
Yeah.
Like a tragedy or like a triumphant event?
Tragedy.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah, it seemed like it sucked.
Yeah, no fun.
This isn't like Pompeii, is it? It is? Another movie that like, just like, oh, right, that was the thing. There was like a Kit Harington.
Kit Harington, Emily Browning,
Right.
Kiefer Sutherland.
Yes. It's got a very weird
Jared
cast.
Harris, Carrie Ann Moss.
Yeah,
I think I
very
should see it.
weird cast.
Is there any chance it's good? I feel like the reviews were terrible.
I think it was probably Quentin Tarantino's top film of that year. He always
Paul
puts
W.S.
a
Anderson.
WS on his top 10.
Well, I like WS, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems a little boring. Also, it's just one of those movies where they're like, well, life's good here in old Pompeii. How's the mountain doing? Looks good. No trouble there. Anyway, it's off to work for me. And you're like, when's it going to fucking blow up? You know, come on. I know what it does. Be good if you made a movie called Pompeii and it's just set at like another time. And they're like, and the mountain never blew up.
Sure. Was this its opening weekend?
Yeah.
This movie, like, really, really did not
Open to
connect.
10,
Yeah.
gross 23.
Yeah.
Weirdly made 94 foreign, so 117 worldwide. Made 80% of its money overseas.
Crazy. But Kit Harington's like a couple years into Game of Thrones at that point, and they were like, movie star? And then he hasn't really led any movies since then.
He's been busy with Game of Thrones,
I know.
which is... No, I am not, you know...
I'm saying Emilia Clarke's done more stuff outside. Some of the other people have done more stuff outside.
Yeah, since then, I mean, well, Seventh Son.
Is he the lead in that?
No, he's in it.
He's in it, right? Ben Barnes is the son. the
He
titular
made
son?
a Spooks movie, which is called
Right.
MI5 in
Right.
this country.
Yes.
That's kind of it.
Yeah, and he was in the Xavier
Yeah.
Dolan movie. Yeah.
Well, King of the North, you know.
King.
But you know what he's
of
funny
the
in is the 7 Days in Hell.
Oh, yes.
He's so funny in that.
Yes.
The Andy Samberg
Yes.
movie. TV movie.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's really funny.
Okay, next film on the old
A
box
film I
office
think
list.
you just find personally objectionable.
I hate it.
I don't know if you've seen it, but you object.
I object.
I think you've seen it.
I think I've seen it, and I object.
It's a remake.
Is it the RoboCop remake? No good.
You have seen.
I have seen it. Yes, I saw it. Even when I was still not watching the RoboCop sequels, I went to see that. It is not good.
No.
It makes a lot of really, really stupid choices.
Sure. Is he not a RoboCop?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest dumb choices.
Okay. Now the fifth film
Mhm.
here was sort of a prestige film, but it's coming out in February.
A pushback?
Possibly. I don't
Okay.
remember if it was.
Yeah.
Made like 80 million.
Wow.
154 worldwide.
Monuments Man?
And completely forgotten.
Yes.
Big cast, Clooney, Damon, Bill Murray, Kate Blanchett.
That was
John
definitely
Goodman.
a pushback because they thought, 6 months earlier, they were like, I mean, this is going to fucking sweep the Oscars, right?
It did have that Good Shepherd. The names, the
Right.
names.
Right.
And when I interviewed Clooney, he was like, I think I fucked up Leatherheads. I don't think I fucked up that movie. I wanted to make that movie. I wanted to make like an old-fashioned 40s men on a mission, like pretty straight down the middle movie. And that's exactly what that movie is. I have never seen it, so I could not confirm or deny.
That's weird because he famously has a bunch of emails that came out in the Sony hacks that
gonna find
are him, yes, apologizing to Amy Pascal for fucking up the movie. Here's a headline: George Clooney racked by guilt over Monuments Men. Sony emails show.
Well,
And
it's not what he said to me.
he emailed Amy Pascal.
Well, he hated the reviews. Oh, okay, all right.
Yes. He said, it's getting worse. He needed protection from the reviews. Let's just make it a hit. I haven't slept in 30 hours at 7 a.m. She said, we will protect you by making money. That's the best revenge.
Man, I kind of...
And he responded, I adore you, Amy. You are literally the only person running a studio that loves film. I fear I've let you all down. Not my intention. I apologize. I've just lost touch. Who knew, said Clooney. Sorry, I won't do it again.
I feel for the guy. He wants people to like his movies.
I know.
Sheesh.
It's a little bleak, right?
Well, I mean, he keeps getting to make things, obviously, because, he's famous.
Yes.
But it's kind of nice to know that he wasn't like, well, fuck the critics. Who cares?
No, he
Like-
was emailing her. He was like, I'm about to get roasted, like a Kenny Rogers. It's a Kenny Rogers in here. And
She's
I
like, it's
fucked
okay.
up.
We'll make money. It's all right.
Yeah.
And he's like,
No, it's not good
my
enough.
fault.
It is kind of crazy how none of the films post Good Night and Good Luck have connected.
Yep.
That's the most successful one.
100%.
And it's a movie that no one remembers.
No.
And was certainly greenlit with the intention of this is going to fucking sweep.
He got an Oscar nomination for The Ides of March.
Yeah, which is very bizarre. You got a screenplay nod?
I believe so.
I remember them saying, how does this, at this point, change your career to get a screenplay nod? Because he was already rolling 10 nominations deep at that point. And I remember him at some press conference going well, it's a big deal for me, actually, because if I'm directing and starring and producing a film and they want to hire someone else to write it, and I think I'd like to write it myself, I'm able to go hey, look, I have an Oscar nomination, so it makes me look a little more sort of verified as a screenwriter. And I was like, oh, thank God George Clooney now has the leverage to convince
People
a studio to let him do a fourth job
I don't
on
think
the film.
that was a issue he had.
He worded it that way.
I understand that, but I'm like,
No, of course not. They let him do everything.
Right.
He makes these movies. They let him do everything. Suburbicon, Leatherheads, Ides of March, Monuments Man. Am I forgetting one?
That's it.
Yeah,
I think,
wow.
right?
Yeah.
He produced Argo. He won an Oscar for that too. Everyone
Oh,
forgets
yes.
that.
We told him to go fuck himself. And he gladly accepted. Right. Man.
So Miyazaki, we got to do a bonus episode because we can't end it on Clooney discussion.
Well.
Can't end the miniseries on Anyway,
Yes.
so in conclusion, George Clooney won an Oscar for producing Argo.
Yeah. And a supporting Oscar that no one remembers.
Yeah, well, that's why when everyone's when I've been Brad Pitt might win this year for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, people are like, oh, he's not going to win for supporting after all these years. And I'm like, George Clooney did exactly that.
For Syria.
That was exactly what he did.
Right. A film that no one has talked about since.
Well, what if Syria, but also Iran, and also,
I did not until this moment realize that's what the title is.
Yeah.
I've never seen that film.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's not the worst.
From the director of
Gold. Stay gold, baby.
Adventures of Dr. Dolittle. Well, what a great end to a miniseries.
It's not the worst movie. It's basically just a movie that's it's real fucked up over there, and it's kind of America's fault. And you're like, got it. That's
Copy
it.
that.
Right.
But it's not our fault.
What?
I was going to say this podcast, but it is explicitly our
100% our fault.
Yeah.
Ben is basically absolved from blame. Yes. It's the two of us.
It's both
At
your
fault.
faults.
Yeah.
No, come on, Miyazaki. I do know that he's been overloading your emotions.
Yeah.
We're free of that experience. We're gonna watch Whisper of the Heart at some point. We're gonna watch a documentary maybe, but that's basically the end of Miyazaki.
And look, we're going to do this bonus episode. Will drop on Thursday. We're going to cover the documentaries. Name the two titles because I'm forgetting. The Kingdom, David.
Kingdom of Dreams and Madness.
And the other one is called?
Let me look it up.
Okay. But then we get to go into Demi, which is going to be fun because we haven't had director that varied in a good little while.
Varied and also just some of them are just going to be silly genre movies, especially early on.
God, I'm excited.
It'll be like, remember, and it was just a man's got a gun and he don't like that guy.
Yeah,
right.
I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to watch the goofy comedies.
Yep.
So I think we'll have a schedule out.
Yes.
That will lay out basically the miniseries because we do have some other things that will sort of be coming out from
got some
previous
new releases.
directors.
Right, we got to cover.
So all that you can refer to our Twitter,
Yeah.
our Instagram for the schedule.
Yeah. It's all good. Good.
You got to make this episode end with a bang, David.
I'm trying to find the name of the other documentary, which I did watch.
Because that's the one that has the AI zombie.
It's about him coming out of retirement to do Borrow the Caterpillar.
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
Never Ending Man. That's what it's
There
called.
we go.
There it is.
We're doing Never Ending Man, Kingdom of Hopes and Dreams. What's it called?
Dreams and Madness.
Dreams and Madness.
So check in for that. Check in for Demi. We already did the Joker and the Gemini Man episode. God, who knows how those fucking things went.
Yeah, who knows how Talking the Walk 2019 went. Bunch of question
That's
marks.
coming right up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's next week.
So by the time you're listening to this, we will hopefully know exactly what we're doing. Because right now, we don't.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would like to say this.
Go ahead.
I think that if somehow
Mhm.
I ever have children,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah. The world I want to live in.
Me too.
This is the
It's a good
future that
world.
liberals want is multiple Hosleys running around,
Yeah.
stomping on the dirt.
If you ever have children,
Jeans
I'm going to
Burgundy.
show them Miyazaki movies.
Yeah.
cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of really
I can't
great
wait to do that.
great values in his films. And I'm really thank you
Oh, you're welcome.
for introducing me.
Well, Griffin's idea to do this too.
So thank you, Griffin, as well.
Well, but my idea was to have David
Capitalize on
introduce
my
me
love for
to.
him.
Right. Because
Except
needed the
I won't.
introduction.
Except maybe like the heavier ones.
Yeah.
Probably not for kids.
Just build to him.
Thank you all very much for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks to Andrew Gudo for our social media. Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for our artwork. Lee Montgomery for our theme song. Go to blankies.red.com for some real nerdy shit. And TeePublic for some real nerdy shirts. And go to Patreon for some more real nerdy shit, including bonus shit like Talking the Walk 2019 coming up. Tune in next week for the start of Jonathan Demme. We're doing the first.
That's right. There's not going to be a break because we just had
we got to get going, and we had to do 2 new releases. Right. But
we got to get going on Demme.
Crazy Mama, Cage Heat, Fighting Mad.
Yep.
We're doing 3 Corbins in one episode.
That's right. One of them is practically impossible to watch,
but we've figured it out.
Sure.
Yes. So anyway, thank you all for listening, and as always, Miyazaki broke me. Which would you choose?
What do you mean?
I didn't point.
Wow.
Let's take a dramatic pause.
Wow. Okay. Go
Mater.
ahead.
Okay, ready? Yeah, they're going to be clear points.
I'm ready.
Okay, ready? Which would you choose? A world with podcasts or a world without?
What do you mean?
Humanity has always dreamt of listening, but the dream is cursed. My aircraft are designed... I fucked it up. Let me take it again.
Here we go.
Which would you choose? A world with pure...
Wow. Descending into chaos.
Okay, ready? Perfect. Ready? Gonna nail in one.